Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here on Project Cars 2 tackling a rather snowy Nurburgring once more. My vehicle of choice is actually from one of the most requested classes of late GT1 cars. I'm going to be running the Mclaren F1 Longtail. Now this does certainly stand a pretty good chance of going towards the top of the table. It's got plenty of power, 600 horsepower, but it isn't turbocharged. We have no turbo lag and sudden turbo spooling up and dumping power to deal with, and it's not a ludicrous amount of power, but it's a good amount of power for speed. It's also, well, a damn fast race car. The GT1 car is incredibly quick around circuits. While not quite as modern as the Ford GT, still a relatively modern, relatively high-tech, plenty of downforce to give us grip. All of these things are pretty good. However, at the end of the day, we are still tackling an incredibly demanding circuit, one in which I'm going to have a single lap to try and go as fast as possible. An 8:44 is the lap time to try and beat that set by the Ford GT. The Ford was so very fast because the performance was much easier to access than a lot of cars, and when you have a single lap in horrendous conditions like this, having a car that performance is easy to access is very, very important. If you're fighting the car constantly, you're going to struggle getting a lap time on your first lap. The McLaren, if it is, accessible performance, I think this stands a chance of getting close to the Ford. But is it going to be accessible performance, or is it going to be a race-long or a lap-long fight? There's a little bit of movement going on from the back of the car through turn 1, which is always a little bit scary. It's not the worst movement we've seen, but it's also nowhere near as planted as the Ford. Ooh, the traction's actually very, very good, which I like to see. Just a sort of small squirt of the throttle down there. There's no wheel spin whatsoever. Now that is good news. If we can get power down, we can get out of corners quite quickly. But yeah, okay, we haven't got the rear end grip that I'd like. We certainly haven't got the rear end grip that we had in the Ford. This thing is moving around no end. Now easy does it down towards this next corner. The hills and so on can cause trouble. Now how brave can we be on the throttle? Apparently very. Gee, that's remarkable traction. I'm definitely not going to be full throttle over that hill. Airtime, snow, GT1 car, that would end badly in that in that scenario. But the fact that I can just stamp on the throttle here and have the traction to do that is remarkable. Now we haven't quite got the grip to almost match it through the corners. I'm a little bit nervous of now taking this sudden speed into some of these turns where I think, the rear end is going to move around. And again, we are still on snow here, which means the braking is a little bit scary. Braking distances are pretty large and lockups very easy to do, and lockups very costly. Wow, we can actually get the full throttle in second gear with minimal amount of wheel spin. Now, I'm not quite going full throttle down here as we get over the bumps and the crests and the curves. That's ridiculous. Don't think I've driven a car with that much traction. Hell, I don't even know if the all-wheel drive Lotus IndyCar Turbine Monster had that much traction getting out of these corners. It just goes. Oh, and then we're into a slow-speed corner and everything's all gone horrible again. It's going to be a point-and-squirt car in a very weird way. Don't think that's ever been said about a McLaren F1 Longtail, but, it kind of is around here. That's... I was not expecting that when I picked the McLaren. I'm going to be honest. I was not expecting that level of... Oh, hello. There we go. That's more of the thing that I was expecting. That's more of what I was expecting, was the car moving around on turn into some of these corners. Now, smoothly does it. Don't excite the rear of the car. Definitely don't want to hit the curb again. Just brushed it enough to nudge us slightly wide. Now, we can't use that amazing traction down here because... we'd pick up speed and then go way too fast in a corner where we don't have the grip or the braking performance to slow it down. Gently does it through here because I don't want the back end sliding. We can then briefly go on the throttle, but it's not really much good heading in towards the hairpin still. I'm being very, very careful with this car in some of these places, and you can see as soon as we start fighting with the technical stuff, just all rear grip goes. As soon as I've got to try and take these tighter turn-ins, all of the rear grip goes. Good news on the braking front. I'm not having too many issues with locking up either, which is nice. Always a concern, especially when you've got a car in which the back end is having a slight mind of its own. The last thing I want to have to deal with is brake locking. Thankfully, it's normally the front locking up that we have issues with, but still, I don't want to tempt fate. Oh, let's go slowly through here, because Christ, the acceleration is mad. The fact that we get traction in that manner from a rear-wheel drive car is not something I really expected to see. It's kind of a very Jekyll and Hyde car. It's completely different going through a corner to how we can suddenly jump on the throttle out the other side. Yeah, it does feel like almost two entirely different cars, depending on what it is you are asking it to do on this circuit. I daren't take speed through here, but I know once I'm out the other side, we can mash the throttle down, and there's absolutely no fear of wheel spin almost from it. Now, I say that, certainly in first and second gear, yeah, you will be getting wheel spin with it if you are that much of a lunatic, but we've had cars that you've barely got to full throttle down the main straight. I'm thinking of the Can-Am car. And the fact that this can do it willy-nilly out of just about every corner without having to do insane short shifts that's damn impressive. That is damn impressive. But now we're coming to the horrible section where I can't do anything. Just wait, patience, 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 patience. And now we're in a straight line. I'm not going to go full throttle there because it's bumpy, and well, you see what happens there at the car throttle. Yeah, it's bumpy and horribleness down there. Get through the carousel nicely with all of that. And now, once we've got it out of the worst of the bumps, unleash... Oh, we've got a little bit of a wiggle in third gear. Unleash the power, panic again, because we're now going stupid fast up a hill into... Well, we're coming into the twisty section. This is where the traction is not so... I say not so important. It's not so useful. I can't stamp on the throttle out a lot of these corners because it's one corner after the other. There's crests, there's bumps, there's a lot of curbs that we don't want to get on. We could do a little bit of a squirt of the throttle down there. just a smidge, just the tiniest little blip of the throttle, and then we go back into cautiously, cautiously, carefully does it, and another bit of full. Such a strange... This might be one of the weirder experiences I've had on the Nurburgring. It's not difficult. Whoa, I say that with very, very nearly spin. It's not the most difficult car to drive by a long way. It's just the difference between sort of two aspects is so vast, because I've got to crawl around here. It's got nothing in terms of grip, and then it's got nothing in terms of corner grip, but traction-wise is remarkable. Now, I don't know how we're doing lap time compared to other stuff. I can't think too much about that. Just kind of got to think of drive the damn car as fast as we can. Annoyingly, there are sections here, for example, this would be flat out or very close to flat out in ideal conditions. I mean, we're doing 80, 90 miles an hour here, and well, I mean, you can see the back end of that car was so close to letting go. It was just wiggling, it was on the verge of letting go. Now down here is quite bumpy. Keep off the curbs. Don't unleash all of the power just yet. I know I want to. There we go, McLaren. Now you can unleash some power, and then quickly quickly get on the brakes. Just rein back in all of that power as we head up towards these next couple of corners. Bad things have gone on. Bad things have gone on with the McLaren. We have pinged it off the fence. I can't get it going again in a neat direction, but it's not gone round. Christ, that's the issue when you are pushing the car. I mean, that wasn't even a ridiculous... That wasn't me being stupid on the throttle, like I have been through a lot of this lap. That's just the back end's running out of grip, and it moves around so much on you. Right, here we go. We're on to the main straight. Now, we should be fast down here. We should be bloody quick down here, I would hope. Although, the snow tyres do add some extra rolling resistance to the McLaren, and 600 horsepower is a lot of power, don't get me wrong, but it's not 1,200. And indeed, it looks like we are going to hit about 167, and that's going to be it for the car. There's not much more. Apparently, it's going to do 240, the game reckons, but not on snow. Not on snow at all. It's going to do 168, and that's going to be that for the F1. Now, try and slow it down into these final corners. We have got remarkable traction. I don't know if it's going to be enough. It isn't going to be enough, in fact. We're going to wiggle our way through these final corners, and I've overdriven it slightly through there. Come on, McLaren. It's going to be pretty good. It's not going to be enough. 8:55. It does go sub 9 minutes at least. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to beat that Ford GT. Yeah, okay, I ran a bit deep into that kind of penultimate corner, and yeah, we had a half spin. That wasn't 10 seconds. That wasn't 10 seconds around there. Really, it wasn't. Yeah, 8:55 is not a bad lap time at all. It will put the car into a 3rd place, I believe. Unfortunately, where's my? There we go. I've got my got my times up. Yeah, it is a 3rd place for the McLaren. It's well, yeah, that around 10-second mark down on the Ford GT and that Formula X car. It does beat the Astra Touring car by some 4 seconds, and it is 10 seconds faster than the Formula A. The traction is unbelievable on this. It is the best car in terms of putting its power down onto the road. Problem is, through the corners, back end just won't stick, and the back end moves around so much, very difficult to kind of build up confidence in the car, because I mean, yeah, you can see through there. You're at low speeds and it's just constantly moving around, and in some cases made worse by the vast speed that you are approaching corners at. You've got to get your braking spot on every time, because the McLaren is going to be going quick because it can utilise its power. A very strange thing to drive. A very strange thing to drive. I like it. I mean, I love this traction. This traction is unbelievable. I just wished we had some more rear end grip to go with it through the corners, because then it would probably be unstoppable. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.